High-ranking officials from the United States and Russia met for 4 hours on Tuesday. This meeting occurred just before controversial comments emerged from President Donald Trump. President Trump rejected Ukraine's objections regarding its exclusion from the talks in Saudi Arabia. He said that the discussions were aimed at ending the war in eastern Ukraine. He also insinuated that Ukraine was responsible for initiating the conflict. He implied that Kiev should have been willing to make concessions before Russia launched its full-scale invasion in 2022. Speaking at his Mar-a-Lago estate, President Trump said Joe Biden had 3 years to resolve the conflict but couldn't end it. President Trump expressed little tolerance for Ukraine's stance. He repeatedly stressed that Ukraine's leadership should have taken steps to prevent the war from beginning. President Trump further asserted that a half-baked negotiator could have settled this years ago without the loss of much land, very little land, without the loss of any lives. He maintained that he had a good chance to end Russia's war in Ukraine. He also showed clear frustration at suggestions that negotiations had started without Ukraine playing a role. Watch what he told reporters when asked.
Do you have any message for Ukrainians who, after 3 years of fighting, might feel betrayed or disappointed at not having a seat at these initial talks in Saudi Arabia?
Well, I think I'm really disappointed in what's happened. I've been watching this for 3 years. It's a war that would have never happened if I was president, and I've been watching these people being killed at levels that you've rarely seen, not even close, since the Second World War. And I'm very disappointed. I hear that, they're upset about not having a seat. Well, they've had a seat for 3 years and a long time before that. This could have been settled very easily. Just a half-baked negotiator could have settled this years ago without the loss of much land, very little land, without the loss of any lives. And I think I have the power to end this war. And I think it's going very well. But today I heard, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal. I could have made a deal for Ukraine that would have given them almost all of the land, everything, almost all of the land, and no people would have been killed, and no city would have been demolished, and not one dome would have been knocked down. But they chose not to do it that way.
His comments carry significant implications for the transatlantic alliance. They could potentially undermine Washington's standing with NATO allies and other nations that rely on U.S. leadership for security. Neither Ukraine nor European nations were invited to Tuesday's discussions in Riyadh. U.S. officials have assured that there is no deliberate exclusion. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said, and I quote, "No one is being sidelined here." He clarified that there would be future engagement and consultation with Ukraine and European partners. He emphasized that Russia remains indispensable in any successful peace effort. Following his conversation with President Putin, President Trump reportedly spoke with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary Rubio met with Zelensky in Germany on Friday. President Zelensky was clearly displeased by his exclusion from the Riyadh talks. He postponed his planned visit to Saudi Arabia to avoid any connection with the U.S.-Russia discussions. Nigel Gould-Davies, a senior fellow at the International Institute for Strategic Studies and former British ambassador to Belarus, criticized the negotiation process. He said, and I quote, "This whole negotiation from the start seems very tilted in Russia's favor. And it's even a question whether it should be termed a negotiation, or in some sense, a series of American capitulations." These remarks have prompted debates among experts regarding the balance of power. Recent analyses indicate that conflicts of this nature have far-reaching geopolitical implications. For instance, various reports suggest that since the conflict escalated in 2022, the humanitarian toll has been severe, with thousands of casualties and millions of people displaced. Such statistics highlight the urgency and gravity of resolving the dispute. U.S. officials like Rubio have hinted that if a peace agreement is reached, it may lead to future collaborations with Russia on global issues. Although he did not elaborate on the specifics, this outlook suggests a potential shift in international relations.